My son said he had work. Late, but when I track his GPS, I almost passed out. Let me tell you about the night I discovered my son wasn't where he said he'd be, and how that lie led me to the most satisfying moment of my life. I'm not the kind of mother who tracks her adult children. I'm really not. But Marcus had been acting strange for weeks, distant, apologetic, always working late at that new marketing firm. When he cancelled our standing Tuesday dinner for the third time, something in my gut twisted. So yes, I opened that family tracking app we'd set up years ago for emergencies. The dot on the map wasn't at his office, it was at Marcello's. You know Marcello's, that restaurant where you need a reservation 3 months in advance and the cheapest entree costs what I used to make in a day. My heart hammered against my ribs as I stared at that little blue dot, steady and unmoving on the screen. Why would Marcus be at Marcello's on a Tuesday night, lying to me about working late? I sat in my small apartment, the one with the peeling wallpaper I kept meaning to replace, and felt something crack open inside my chest. The same apartment where I'd raised Marcus alone after his father left, where I'd served pasta 17 different ways to make $200 stretch through the month, where I'd hemmed my own clothes and cut my own hair for 15 years. Here's what nobody knew, not even Marcus. I wasn't that struggling single mother anymore. 5 years ago, I'd started a medical billing consulting business from my laptop. Just me, my decade of experience as a hospital administrator, and a keen eye for the systematic errors that cost hospitals millions. I didn't tell anyone, not my neighbors, not my old friends, not my son. I kept living in the same apartment, driving the same 2008 Honda Civic, shopping at the same discount stores. Why? Because I wanted to know who loved me for me. My business had grown quietly, exponentially. I had contracts with 12 major hospital systems across 3 states. My bank account had numbers in it that still made me dizzy when I checked. $840,000 in savings, another $200,000 in investments. I was pulling in $45,000 a month, sometimes more. I could have moved to a penthouse, bought a Mercedes, dripped in designer labels. But I didn't. I wanted to see if my son, the boy I'd sacrificed everything for, would still value me when I looked like I had nothing. And now he was at Marcello's, lying to me. The rage moved through me like a river under ice, cold, dark, patient. I did something I'm not proud of. I called Marcello's and, using my sweetest voice, asked if they had a reservation under Marcus Chen. They did, for 5 people, 7:30 p.m. "Could you tell me who made the reservation?" I asked. "A Ms. Vanessa Whitmore," the hostess said. Vanessa, his girlfriend of 8 months, the one I'd met exactly once, for coffee, where she'd given my hand a limp squeeze and called my purse vintage in a tone that meant old. I hung up and stared at my closet. Then I made a decision. I was going to Marcello's, but I was going to go as myself, as the version of me that Marcus had been seeing for months. Discount store dress, worn flats, my regular purse with the broken zipper. No makeup except my drugstore lipstick. I would walk into that restaurant, find out what my son was hiding, and discover exactly who I'd raised. The hostess at Marcello's looked at me like I'd wandered in from a homeless shelter. "Can I help you?" she asked, her smile professionally tight. "I'm here to join the Whitmore party," I said. Her eyebrows rose a fraction. Let me check on that." She disappeared, and I stood in that gleaming entrance with its marble floors and crystal chandeliers, acutely aware of every other patron gliding past me in their designer clothes. A woman in a Chanel suit actually sidestepped around me, as if poverty might be contagious. The hostess returned with a younger woman, manager by her bearing. "Ma'am, are you sure you have the right restaurant?" the manager asked. "Whitmore party," I repeated. "My son Marcus is with them." Something flickered across her face. Pity, maybe. "Right this way." She led me through the restaurant, and I saw it immediately. The large round table by the window. Marcus sat with his back to me, his shoulders tense in the new suit I didn't know he owned. Beside him, Vanessa held court in a white dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, my real rent, not the one I could actually afford. There were 3 others, an older couple who had to be Vanessa's parents. The man wore a Rolex that caught the light with every gesture. The woman's diamonds could have funded a small university. I watched the manager approach the table and whisper to Vanessa. Watched Vanessa's face transform, shock, then horror, then something harder. Watched her whisper to Marcus. Watched my son's head whip around. Our eyes met across the restaurant. He looked terrified. "Mom," he said, standing so quickly his chair scraped. I thought you were working late," I finished. "Funny, that's what you told me you were doing." Vanessa stood too, her smile sharp and brittle. "Mrs. Chen, what a surprise." "Ms. Chen," I corrected quietly. I never took my husband's name back. "Of course," she gestured to the empty chair. "Please, join us." I sat. The older couple stared at me like I was a specimen under glass. "Mom, this is Vanessa's parents," Marcus said, his voice strangled. "Richard and Patricia Whitmore. This is my mother, Susan." "Charmed," Patricia said, the word dripping with its opposite. Richard extended his hand. I shook it. His grip was deliberately weak. The kind of handshake that communicates exactly how little you matter. "Marcus has told us so much about you," Patricia continued, picking up her wine glass. "You work in medical billing, is it?" "I do." "How industrious," she smiled. "It must be so difficult, raising a child alone on such a modest income." The words hung like a blade. "Mum's done great," Marcus said quickly, too quickly. "She made a lot of sacrifices." "Oh, we can see that," Vanessa murmured, her eyes travelling over my dress. I said nothing, just picked up my water glass and took a sip. "Susan, we're so glad you could join us," Richard said, leaning back in his chair with the confidence of a man who'd never been denied anything. "We've been wanting to meet you. Marcus is very important to Vanessa, and Vanessa is very important to us." "She's our only daughter," Patricia added, "our precious girl. We want to make sure she's well taken care of." "Of course," I said. "Marcus has been telling us about his career prospects," Richard continued. "Very impressive. Marketing director by 30, if he plays his cards right." "He's ambitious," Vanessa said, squeezing Marcus's hand. "I love that about him." The waiter appeared, and I watched everyone order $80 steaks, $200 bottles of wine, appetizers that cost more than I used to spend on groceries for a week. When he turned to me, I ordered the cheapest pasta on the menu. Patricia's smile turned pitying. "Please, Susan, order whatever you like," Richard said. "This is our treat." "The pasta is fine," I said. "Thank you." "Mum likes to be independent," Marcus said, and I heard the apology in his voice. The shame. He was ashamed of me. The realization settled into my bones like ice. Vanessa leaned forward. "Susan, Marcus mentioned you live in Riverside, that little complex off Maple Street?" "I do. That's so sweet. Very authentic neighborhood, lots of character." She wrinkled her nose. "Though I suppose the crime rate is a bit concerning." "It's fine," I said. "I'm sure it is. It's just, well..." She exchanged a glance with her mother. "We worry about Marcus visiting you there. It's not exactly the safest area." "Vanessa," Marcus said weakly. "I'm just being honest, baby." She patted his hand. "We care about you." The appetizers arrived. Oysters for them, nothing for me. Patricia made a show of offering me one. "Oh, have you ever had oysters, Susan? They're divine." "I have." "Thank you." "Really? Where?" "Around." "How mysterious." She laughed, the sound like glass breaking. "Richard, isn't she mysterious?" I watched them eat, watched them talk about their vacation home in Aspen, their new yacht, their daughter's degree from Princeton. Watched Marcus grow smaller and smaller in his chair, his eyes never quite meeting mine. "So, Susan," Richard said, wiping his mouth with his napkin. Marcus tells us you've been hinting about wanting to retire soon. I went still. Did he? It makes sense, Patricia chimed in. You've worked so hard for so long, you deserve to rest. That's kind of you to say. The thing is, Richard continued, his tone shifting to something rehearsed, we've been discussing Marcus and Vanessa's future. They're very serious. Our children? We're thinking about getting engaged, Vanessa announced, her eyes bright with challenge. Maybe this Christmas. I looked at Marcus. Is that true? He nodded, not quite looking at me. Yeah, Mom, I was going to tell you. When? The word came out sharper than I intended. Soon, He gestured helplessly. I wanted to make sure everything was right. Right, I repeated. The thing is, Richard said, leaning forward, an engagement, a wedding. These things are expensive, very expensive, and while the Whitmore family will certainly contribute the lion's share, we believe both families should participate. My blood began to hum. We know your financial situation is limited, Patricia said gently. We're not expecting much, but a gesture would be appropriate, say $15,000, for flowers perhaps, or the cake. I stared at her. $15,000. It's a small amount for a wedding, really, Vanessa said. Our wedding will probably cost $200,000. We're thinking destination. Tuscany, maybe. Very intimate. Just 150 of our closest friends and family. Mum can't afford that, Marcus said quietly. The table went silent. Oh, Patricia said, her hand flying to her chest. Oh, Marcus, sweetheart, we didn't realize. It's fine, I said. It's not fine, Richard said firmly. Susan, let's be frank, you're a lovely woman and you clearly did your best raising Marcus. But the reality is our families are from different worlds, different economic spheres. We're not trying to be cruel, Patricia added. We're trying to be realistic. Vanessa is accustomed to a certain lifestyle. Marcus will need to provide that for her. And we need to make sure he's not burdened. Burdened, I said. By financial obligations, Richard clarified, to extended family who might need support. The rage wasn't cold anymore. It was burning, white hot, building behind my teeth. We have a proposal, Vanessa said, and her voice had gone soft, deadly. We think it might be best if Marcus distances himself a little, just for a while he establishes his career, builds his foundation. You want him to stop seeing me, I said. Not forever, Patricia said quickly. Just reduced contact, maybe holidays. We'd be happy to include you for Thanksgiving, that sort of thing. You'd give us some space, Vanessa added, to build our life, and in return, she looked at her father. Richard pulled out his checkbook, right there at the table. We're prepared to offer you $50,000, he said, pen poised. A gift to thank you for raising such a fine young man and to help you retire comfortably. All we ask is that you agree to step back. Let Marcus focus on his future. He looked at me expectantly. They all looked at me expectantly. Marcus stared at his plate, and I laughed. It started quiet, just a breath of sound. Then it grew, louder, fuller, until I was laughing so hard tears pricked my eyes, and every head in the restaurant had turned to stare. Mum, Marcus hissed. Mum, please. $50,000, I said, wiping my eyes. You want to pay me $50,000 to stay away from my son? Susan, we're trying to be generous here, Richard said, his voice hardening. Generous, I nodded. That's a nice word for it. Mrs. Vanessa started. Let me ask you something, Richard, I interrupted. What do you do for a living? He blinked. I'm a commercial real estate developer. Successful? Very. Good for you. Built it yourself? My father gave me a substantial start, but yes, I've grown the business considerably. Patricia, do you work? She stiffened. I manage the household. I sit on several charity boards. Charitable, I said. What about you, Vanessa? What do you do? I'm a social media influencer, she said, lifting her chin. I have 200,000 followers. Impressive. Do you make money from it? Some. Daddy supplements. Of course he does. I looked at Marcus, finally, fully looked at him. And you, baby, what do you make at your marketing job? Mom, how much, Marcus? 60,000 a year, he mumbled. 60,000, I nodded. That's good. That's really good. You worked hard for that. He's going to make much more, Vanessa said defensively. He's already being considered for... I'm sure he is. I turned back to Richard. So let me make sure I understand. You're offering me $50,000, which is less than your daughter probably spends on clothes in a year, to disappear from my son's life. Because I'm an embarrassment. Because I live in a poor neighborhood and wear cheap dresses and don't fit into your world. Susan, you're taking this the wrong way, Patricia began. Am I? Then explain it to me. Explain how this is anything other than you trying to buy my son away from me because you think I'm not good enough. It's not about good enough, Richard said. It's about fit. About what's best for who? My voice cracked like a whip. For Vanessa? For Marcus? Or for you, so you don't have to explain to your country club friends that your daughter's future mother-in-law shops at discount stores. That's not fair, Vanessa said. Isn't it? Let me ask you something else, Vanessa. What do you love about my son? She blinked. What? Simple question. What do you love about Marcus? He's smart and ambitious. He's going places. Going places, I repeated. Where's he from? Tell me one thing about his childhood. He's mentioned one thing. Silence. Can't do it, can you? You don't know that he's terrified of dogs because one bit him when he was 6. You don't know that he taught himself piano on a keyboard I bought him from a pawn shop, or that he worked 3 jobs to put himself through community college before he got that scholarship. You don't know about the nights he held my hand while I cried because I couldn't afford to fix our broken heater, or how he told me he'd rather be cold than see me work another shift. My voice was shaking now, but I didn't stop. You don't know him. You know his potential, his earning potential. You looked at my son and saw a blank slate you could mold into whatever you needed him to be, as long as you could scrub away the parts that reminded you he came from nothing. Mom, stop, Marcus whispered. No. I looked at him, really looked at him. Baby, do you know why I never told you this? I was going to. Tonight, actually. I was going to tell you over our Tuesday dinner, the one you cancelled to be here. Tell me what? I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, turned the screen toward the table. Tell you that 5 years ago I started a consulting business. Tell you that I have contracts with 12 major hospital systems. Tell you that I make $45,000 a month, more than you make in a year, Marcus, more than Richard probably spends on his car payments. The silence was absolute. Tell you that I have $840,000 in savings and $200,000 in investments. Tell you that I could buy a house tomorrow, a nice house in a nice neighborhood, without even denting my accounts. Patricia's mouth had fallen open. Tell you that I kept living in my apartment, driving my old car, wearing my cheap clothes because I wanted to know something. I wanted to know if the people in my life loved me or loved what I could give them. I wanted to know if my son, the boy I sacrificed everything for, would still value me when I looked like I had nothing. I stood up. So thank you, Richard, for your generous offer of $50,000. That's about what I make in 5 weeks. I'll pass. Susan, Patricia started, and Vanessa, sweetheart, let me give you some advice. Money doesn't make you better than anyone else. It just makes you louder. You can have 200,000 followers and your daddy's credit card, but you don't have character, you don't have loyalty, and you sure as hell don't deserve my son. I picked up my purse. Marcus, baby, I love you. I will always love you. But I didn't raise you to be ashamed of where you came from. I didn't sacrifice everything so you could sit at a table with people who think they can buy me off like I'm some kind of inconvenience. Mom, wait. When you figure out who you are, not who they want you to be, but who you really are, call me. Until then, I'm going to go home to my little apartment in my dangerous neighborhood, and I'm going to be just fine. I turned to walk away. You're lying, Vanessa said suddenly. You're making this up because you're embarrassed. I stopped, turned back. Am I? Richard, you're a real estate developer. You have access to financial databases, don't you? Look me up. Susan Chen, Chen Medical Solutions, LLC. Check my business credit. Check my tax returns if you can get access to them. I've got nothing to hide. Richard's face had gone pale. Or don't. I don't actually care what you think of me. I looked at Marcus one more time. But I hope you care what you think of you. I walked through Marcello's with my head high, past the glittering chandelier and the marble floors and the people in their expensive clothes. The hostess who'd looked at me with disdain 2 hours ago now watched me with wide eyes. She'd been close enough to hear everything. Have a wonderful evening, I told her. You too, Ms. Chen, she said quietly. You too. I drove home in my 2008 Civic, parked in front of my apartment with the peeling wallpaper, and went inside. I made myself a cup of tea. I sat on my worn couch, and I waited. Marcus called at midnight. Mum. His voice was thick with tears. I'm here, baby. I'm so sorry. Mum, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. They made it sound like I was protecting you, but I was just ashamed, I finished gently. Yes, God, yes, and I hate myself for it. Do you love her, Marcus? Really love her? Silence. Then, no. I loved what she represented. I loved feeling like I'd made it, like I wasn't that poor kid anymore. Oh, baby, you made it the day you decided to be kind. You made it the day you worked 3 jobs for your education. You made it every time you called your mum just to check in. That's success, that's wealth. I broke up with her, he said, right after you left. I told her I couldn't marry someone who'd treat my mother like that. Her dad threatened to talk to my boss to blacklist me in the industry. And I told him to go ahead. I'll find another job. I'll find 100 other jobs, but I only have one mom. The tears came then, hot and fast. Can I come over? He asked. You know where I live. He was at my door in 20 minutes. When I opened it, he folded into my arms like he was 6 years old again, and we stood there in the doorway of my small apartment while he cried. I love you, he said. I'm so proud of you. I'm so sorry I made you feel like you had to hide who you are. I love you too, baby, and you're going to be okay. We're both going to be okay. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why didn't you tell me about the money? I smiled, pulling back to look at him. Because I needed to know you loved me when I was just mum. Not successful mum, not rich mum, just me. I do, I always have. I got lost for a while. Everyone gets lost sometimes. What matters is finding your way back. We stayed up until 3 a.m, talking, really talking, for the first time in months. I told him about my business, about my plans, about the future I'd been building in secret. He told me about the pressure he'd been feeling, the way Vanessa's world had made him feel like nothing he'd accomplished was enough. I'm going to do better, he said. I'm going to be better. You already are, baby. You already are. 3 months later, I moved out of my apartment. Not to a penthouse, I'm still too practical for that, but to a nice townhouse in a good neighborhood. I bought myself a new car. I updated my wardrobe, not because I was ashamed of where I'd been, but because I'd finally proven what I needed to prove. Marcus helped me move. He carried boxes and assembled furniture, and never once complained about the sweat or the work. On our first night in the new place, we ordered pizza and sat on the floor because my furniture hadn't arrived yet. This is nice, Mom, he said, looking around. It is, isn't it? I'm proud of you for building this, for being strong enough to hide it until you knew the truth. I'm proud of you too, for being strong enough to walk away. He smiled. We're quite a pair. We really are. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Susan, this is Patricia Whitmore. Richard looked into your business. We owe you an apology. Perhaps we could meet for coffee. I showed Marcus. He snorted. Are you going to respond? I thought about it, about the look on their faces when I'd revealed my truth. About the checkbook Richard had pulled out, so certain he could buy me off. About the years I'd spent in my small apartment, building something real while they'd mistaken my humility for helplessness. I deleted the message. No, I said. I don't think I will. Good. Because here's the thing I'd learned. Revenge isn't about destroying other people. It's not about making them hurt the way they hurt you. Real revenge, real vindication, is building a life so full and rich and genuine that their opinion of you becomes irrelevant. I didn't need the Whitmores to apologize. I didn't need them to acknowledge they'd been wrong. I already had everything I needed, and I meant it.